Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Nectar, Sex, and Soul. I'm your host, Soraya Leonora, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach. This is a chance for us to get intimate, to reach far into the mystical, magical, erotic, tender, inspiring, vital, primordial depths of what it is to be human, what it is to express and inhabit these amazing bodies fully, and what it is to make love to the divine in everything we do. We'll be penetrating deeply into the nectar of what it is to be alive and turned on by life, how to transmute pain and hardship into pleasure and medicine, how to embody the union of polarities, including sex and spirit, and how to love every piece of ourselves wholeheartedly. This is a space where we don't just talk about the act of sex, but rather how sexual energy permeates every area of our lives as the seed of creation and the source from which we all came. Exploring sexuality in this way not only takes our sex lives to the next level, but is a catalyst for a life that turns us on in each and every moment, not just in the bedroom. Within you stirs a sexual vitality that is capable of so much more than you could possibly imagine. This is what we explore on Nectar, Sex, and Soul. Thanks for coming to play. Good morning, everyone. At least it's morning when I'm recording this. Welcome back to Nectar, Sex, and Soul. I'm Soraya Leonora, and it's so beautiful to have you all here with me today. And today I'm feeling really inspired to speak about something other than what I was planning to speak about today, and to really just follow the flow of what's feeling really alive and inspired within me right now after the morning I've just had and the weekend I've just had, and just reflecting on something really, really important and potent in my life that I realize so many people are missing and that I can lose track of if I'm not careful. And it's a really key ingredient that is missing in so many people's lives and in so many people's relationships. It's something that is so essential to being in alignment, to being connected to our truth, to being able to feel what's alive and true for us in each moment and stay present with our moment-to-moment flow rather than running on autopilot. It's a key ingredient for healing from the root, for clearing stuck energy, rewiring patterns, creating change that really lasts. And it's something that I think we've really lost touch with, most people in this modern world, which is so fast-paced and so go, go, go. It's missing in many mainstream healing modalities. It's missing as a practice in deepening connection, in recognizing one another in our humanity below matters of right versus wrong or opinions or judgment. And it's something that really brings us home to ourselves. So this missing ingredient that I want to talk about today is embodiment practice. And I invite you to come into this with curiosity and openness. Maybe you think you already know all about embodiment practice. Maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. But there are some really important things I want to share about it today and how it's impacted my life and how I see it impacting the lives of my clients and the people around me. And just in case you're wondering, what is embodiment practice? It's practice that roots you deeply in the awareness and inhabitants of your body. So, as a very mercurial being, I am a very intellectual person with a very active mind. I love thinking. I love strategizing. I love analyzing and dissecting. I'm a Virgo rising for anyone who's into astrology and knows what that means. So Mercury is my chart ruler. I'm a very analytical, deep thinking person. And I'm also a deeply emotional person. I'm an emotional authority in human design, for anyone who knows what that means. And these are things I'll unpack in later episodes, but all this to say that if you find yourself being a very cerebral person and you don't think that embodiment practice is important, or you don't really get it or connect with it or relate with it, I really want to stress the importance of listening to this even more deeply, because embodiment practice is what has completely changed my life, my relationship. It's why my work with clients is so impactful. It's why so many clients tell me that one session with me is so much more profound than 10 years of therapy, so much more deeply impactful. And if you listened to my episode, I want to say it was like 4 episodes ago, something about healing the root for lasting transformation, that episode gets really deep into why somatic practice is so essential, working with the body to heal deeply rooted blockages, illnesses, patterns. Somatic or embodied practice is key for that. But I want to talk today about how it's helpful in other areas of our lives. So I want to take a moment and ask you, when is the last time that you just sat with your breath and felt what was in your body? In fact, let's take a moment to do that together now. Take a deep breath all the way down, deep into your belly, into your pelvic bowl, and let your belly expand 360 all the way up through the diaphragm, all throughout the ribs. And let it all out with an audible sigh. Close your eyes if you're not driving, and take a moment, even whatever you're doing. Let's say you're washing dishes or you're driving. Just take a moment to tap into the breath and your body and just feel what's alive for you right now. What physical sensations are present? What emotions are present? What's alive for you right now? And take a moment to reflect on, when is the last time that you sat with another human, whether it was a lover, a friend, a family member, or a total stranger, and just shared eye contact and breath with them. Has there been a time when you've done that, when you've just dropped below the words into a space of being and feeling through this type of connection before words can even get in the way? I love words. I'm a very verbal person. Words of affirmation are one of my top love languages. And sometimes they can be a distraction from feeling what's underneath. In my tantric pujas that I lead, I create containers for people to just connect with a total stranger through the eyes, through the breath, before any words can get in the way, and to just really feel their humanity before making any judgments or any pretense can fill the space. It's just this vulnerable space of feeling and being with, seeing this other person in yourself. When's the last time you did this with a loved one? When is the last time you were feeling an intense emotion and you stopped what you were doing and you let it just move through your body, through your breath, through your voice, through your tears, your laughter, screams, just giving space for the body to express and be with whatever is passing through you? Have you ever done that, or have you stuffed it down? Has it been pent up, or did you perhaps project it all over someone else? When's the last time you ever just felt into your body and asked, what do I feel like doing right now? Doesn't matter what the to-do list says. Doesn't matter what I had planned today. What do I feel like doing? What would feel really nourishing to my body, to my being? These are the types of questions that can help us feel into how connected we've been to our body. So many of us are running around in our head, running around on autopilot, planning out every moment of our day before ever giving ourselves the chance to be with what is right here, right now. So a lot of emotions get stuffed down. A lot of needs of the body get stuffed down. And we have this hyper focus on productivity in our culture. We don't often take the time to slow down and listen to the body and receive its wisdom. How many of you try to resolve conflict through the mind, through words? And you try to strategize, what is the thing we have to do to solve this problem between us? I said I'm a very strategic being. Strategy and thinking and problem solving definitely has its place. And something I've seen in my own life and in that of my clients is often this obsession with fixing a problem with the mind rather than letting the body work it out in a way that the mind and words and conscious analysis can't touch. We have to go deeper below all of that, into the unconscious, into the body, into the breath. So the breath is the bridge between matter and spirit, the conscious and unconscious, body and soul. I see it as the lovemaking between body and soul that makes us human. And the breath carries so many answers. It regulates the nervous system. It helps us tune into a state of deep presence where we can really allow inspiration to come through, where we can really see things more clearly. So often when people are trying to work through a conflict, they're talking about everything. The mind is desperately trying to find an answer. And there are so many things that the mind will not be able to solve. In human design, they actually talk about how all the wisdom, all the truth is going to be found below the head. So everyone in human design, and I'll do a whole episode on human design. I know you've all been hearing me talk about it. Some of you have participated in my study about human design, and some of you might know about it, some of you might not. I'll do another episode going deeper into it, but everybody has an inner authority in human design, which is the way that they are designed to come into a place of truth and how they are meant to make decisions when it comes to big life decisions. And human design says that nobody is meant to do that with their head. So there are other kinds of decisions we can make with the head, but the things that are big life decisions that bring us into alignment, those are going to be found somewhere in the body. And you might notice that you loop on the same conflict over and over and over again with somebody. And you talk it out, and you might be really great communicators, or you might not be. You know, it might be a mess every time you talk about it, and you just feel like you're looping. Or you might feel like, wow, we had this really great intellectual conversation, and you're able to see one another's perspectives. You're able to articulate your own, and you feel like you had a breakthrough, yet you still keep looping on the same thing. The pattern doesn't resolve. So my partner and I are both deeply intellectual beings, deep thinkers, very mercurial, but also very much need to be in our bodies. We're both movement artists. We both absolutely need movement to thrive. And it's actually, I would say, our primary love language with one another. So no, it's not one of the 5 love languages that we often hear about. But for my partner and I, dance is our primary love language. It's how we met. It's how we first came together, was through dance, no words, just energy, kinesthetic communication, motion, feeling, energy. And the energy that I felt when we first connected through movement was so astounding to me. And I couldn't make sense of it. My mind couldn't make sense of it. The mind will try to make stories about sensation. And this can be really problematic. We can feel a knot in our stomach and say, oh, this means something bad is going to happen. Or I'm anxious and this means I'm going to fuck this thing up. But what if we got curious instead and said, oh, there's some energy gathering in my stomach that feels tight and congested. What happens if I lean into it and get curious and breathe into it, open that space in my body and let that energy move? You'll find there's actually a charge there. There's an energy there that can be channeled as vitality, that can help you move through the thing you feel anxious about. Now, let's say we have amazing dance chemistry with somebody, and we make that mean that there's supposed to be something romantic with them or something sexual with them. But maybe it's just this incredible co-creative compatibility, and we're misinterpreting it through the mind. Maybe there is a deep sexual romantic chemistry there, but sometimes we just need to get curious around what is this? And so I remember my mind trying to make sense of, wow, this is so astounding. What am I feeling with this man? Because it wasn't immediately just oh, wow, I'm so sexually attracted to you. It wasn't that. It was something deeper. It was, wow, we have a really profound way of communication that is new to me. And dance really became the foundation of our relationship from the beginning. And it was a way that we really got to know each other, that we got to communicate somatically, kinesthetically, and to really feel each other in a way that words can't really touch. And we cultivated an incredibly deep relationship. And to this day, it is the food that feeds our relationship. It is the most nourishing piece of our relationship. So if you've been listening to my podcast, you've heard me talk about The Spirit of Intimacy. It's an incredible book by Sobonfu Somé. I'd love to have her on this podcast someday. And she talks about the Dagara tribe, which she is a member of in West Africa, and how they relate to intimacy. And she says that every relationship has a spirit that brought them together, and that you have to continue to nurture that spirit, and that you can go to that spirit and ask it for insight, ask it for advice when you're coming up against tough stuff. And for us, the spirit of our relationship is incredibly nourished by dance and incredibly malnourished when we neglect that piece of our lives. And dance is just one way of embodiment practice. But for us, it's a way that we nurture our polarity. It's a way we deepen our communication. It's a way that we play. It's a way that we stir creative and sexual energy. It's a way that we learn each other's bodies. It's a way that we come to life and awaken our vitality. And it's an incredible way of navigating conflict. So there are things that we have tried to solve with our minds. We love to intellectualize. We love to have these deep conversations, and they can be really profound, and they're important. We do need the conversations. But if we are only coming to it through the mind, it doesn't integrate on a cellular level. The past wounds and patterns and places where we get stuck in our energy continue to stay stuck if we don't move it through the body. So sometimes if we're arguing and words aren't really cutting it, or there's a lot of pent up energy, we're both really fiery beings, we move through it with dance. And sometimes this dance looks more like some sort of kung fu battle. You know, sometimes it's spicy and it's pushing edges and it's aggressive and there's a lot of push and pull, and there can be a lot of anger channeled through it. And we're pushing each other's edges. We're testing each other, and we're letting the bodies work out what the minds cannot. And there's this reestablishing of connection and of trust and of feeling each other and being with that emotion and going deeper than where the words can go. And the times that we have neglected this practice, when we've gotten too busy, and not just this practice, I'll get to some other practices that we work with as well. But when we get too busy to come back to the body together, our sex life will diminish, our overall connection will diminish, both of us will feel less alive, we will be less on the same page. This is the thing that nourishes our connection, that brought us together, that is the glue that keeps us together and allows us to continue deepening and stay inspired and curious and passionate and alive and connected. So if dance isn't your thing, that's totally okay. Breath, eye contact, touch, and any sort of movement, making music, making art, anything creative, anything tactical, anything with your body, or any other embodiment practices where you can work with energy and you can drop down deeper into the unconscious, into deeper layers of feeling and connection with another person that you can't get to if you're just on the level of the mind, or if you're just on the level of we're having mindless mechanical sex. There is a deepening into the infinite nature of who each of you are as souls and your connection to the divine, to all that is. But there's also this deepening into the awareness of your mortality, of your finiteness, of your humanity. There's something that happens with embodiment practice that reminds us we are here in this moment and now is all we have. No other moment is guaranteed. It humbles us to what is real, to what matters, to the fact that we won't be here forever in these bodies. And the bodies can be such a powerful portal to truth. So one of the things I really recommend to my clients, and one of the things my partner and I really make a point to do, is if we are arguing, if we're having some kind of conflict, we make sure we're facing each other and looking at each other. And ideally, taking some deep breaths in sync with each other while gazing deep into one another's eyes. Because what happens here is you can feel that person's humanity. You can feel what's real for them. You come home to why you love them. You remember, you see them truly for who they are. And you drop into a deeper heart, soul, and body level rather than a mind and ego level. So often when we're in conflict, our ego wants to be right. We want to prove ourselves. We want to make the other person see what we see, and we don't have to force that. I always say I'm not in the business of persuasion. I don't run my business in a way that I try to persuade. I don't try to persuade other people of my beliefs or what I see. And I used to waste so much energy trying to get people to see things from my perspective, trying to convince people of my values, trying to change people. And it was obnoxious for them and it was draining for me. And it was pointless. It's like you can inspire somebody, but having an attachment to how you're going to impact them really disrupts the sovereignty and the magic. And there's this, I believe it's a Japanese saying. I'm probably not going to say it entirely correctly, but it's something about you shouldn't have to tell me about your religion. I should know all about it by observing you. And there's something so powerful when we come heart to heart, face to face, eyes to eyes, breath to breath with somebody, where so much of what we need to communicate can be expressed through that place of feeling beneath the words, beneath I need you to see this in the way I see it. And the words can help to invite somebody to see things from our perspective so that we can empathize with each other, so we can understand where one another is coming from. But it comes from this invitation of, I want you to see into me. I want you to see into my world. And not, I'm trying to force you to see this my way. It's more like, meet me here and I'll meet you there. Let's come to the same page. So taking the time to just breathe together, to be with each other, to drop below an agenda and to just get real, human to human, and to even work through a guided couples meditation or a guided practice. This is a huge way that I work with my clients, is guiding them through a series of inviting the different feelings they're feeling, seeing each other in specific ways. We can invite what we want to see in a person. If we're seeing somebody as you're just childish, you're doing it wrong, you're not meeting me here. If we focus on what we don't want to see, that is what we will continue to see. And there's something really profound about inviting forth what we do want to see in somebody and making a point to see that it already exists within them, and to call it forth, and to be in that space together, and to express through the body, the eyes, sound, emotion, touch, movement, what we want to communicate. It brings it back to such a more simplistic, embodied truth that is so much less complicated than where words and the ego and the mind want to take it. And the words that do come through from this practice will come from the heart. They will come from truth. They will come from a place of clarity. Most people are not willing to take the time to slow down in this way. This doesn't just have to be with a partner. This could be with your mother, your son, your friend, your coworker. This could be with a stranger, especially in a specific context, like the types of events that I lead. But this type of practice changed my life. To be seen for the divinity within me and to see that within other people cracked me open. It really brought me into my heart in a way that I had not experienced when I was so obsessed with being right or proving my point or being seen in the way I wanted to be seen, rather than being seen for the whole of who I am and embraced in that. Tantra is very much about embracing the whole, seeing everything as sacred. Every single piece of ourselves has a place at the table. And in these kinds of connection practices through embodiment, we can feel that. We can feel that every piece of ourself is welcome here and integrate those pieces. And it slows the roll so that the screaming inner child within you, the wounded inner child that doesn't feel seen, that doesn't feel lovable, that doesn't feel worthy, the part of you that has had a bad experience in the past that wounded you, that closed you down, all these pieces can come forth and soften and open. Rather than being the one that runs the show, they get to have a seat at the table without taking over. There's space for all the parts of you to be here. So these are the practices that bring us back to the richness of the connection that we have with ourselves, with our beloved, and with the divinity in all things. If you have found yourself on autopilot or disconnected from the passion you once shared with someone or the passion you once felt for life, if you feel like you've fallen into a place of deep comfort and complacency, or you're no longer deepening into your connection, there's not a vulnerability unfolding, there's not growth happening, these kinds of practices can go such a long way in peeling back the layers, in journeying deeper, in connecting sex and spirit, body and soul, connecting two beings unified as one. This is the basis of sacred sexuality, of conscious relationship, where there is a willingness to open deeper than what most humans are operating from on the surface. There is a willingness to lean into discomfort. There is a willingness to go deeper. And this isn't just about how we navigate conflict. This is also about how we nurture relationship. So doing these kinds of practices with each other when there is no conflict is a beautiful maintenance practice as well as a deepening practice. It's a way that you stay more connected instead of waiting till the point where, something has flared up between us, or wow, suddenly we're not feeling so connected. I feel really distant from you. We don't want to wait till that point to use these practices. These are practices that we use to nourish, to nurture, to deepen, to explore, to stay curious. Because when you come into this kind of connection with someone, you see and feel that they are infinite. You see the whole universe inside of them. You see yourself inside of them. You perceive them in a different way than you come accustomed to after seeing them day after day and being in some sort of routine where you start to forget their magic. You start to forget that feeling of why you came to love them to begin with. And you can start to lose that in yourself too. If you're disconnected from the beauty within yourself, the beauty within the world, the beauty within the people around you, these practices can bring you home to that. And you can do this on your own too. When I'm having intense emotion, I take a break from what I'm doing I breathe deeply. I practice shaking. Some of you might be familiar with shaking. Shaking is what animals do. If you see a gazelle get chased by a lion and it gets away, and then it shakes it out, and then it goes back to eating like nothing ever happened. This is so healing for the nervous system. It clears the stuck charge of trauma and restores vitality to the body. It breaks up stagnancy. It gives us a way to move the energy. So I'll practice shaking, I'll cry, I'll laugh, I'll write, I'll dance, I'll move. And it's not about how it looks. It's about giving the body a chance to feel and move and push energy through. Just taking deep breaths. You can even eye gaze with yourself in the mirror. I do that all the time. It's such a beautiful way to connect with yourself in a loving way, to be the best friend or the lover or the support system that you need. You can even talk to yourself in the mirror. You can offer yourself loving words. You can just affirm through the eyes, I'm here for you. I've got your back. I see you. Taking that time to just see yourself in that way is so beautiful and so transformative. And you can take time to work with the breath, whether you're in the middle of doing something stressful or you're taking space from that stressful thing. The breath has become such a cliche thing of just breathe, it's all good, just breathe. But I cannot stress enough how this is the most simple practice and the most profound practice I have ever worked with. I have struggled with anger and rage my whole life. And I used to be a mess in the way that I dealt with it. I projected it onto people in ways that I am not proud of. I was physically destructive. I masked it with things like cannabis. I said terrible things I didn't mean. I was really explosive. Just a total firecracker with a super sharp tongue that would spit fires in ways I really regretted. And it was the breath that helped me to lean into the discomfort of those situations, to find my center, to find my truth, to speak with courage, compassion, and clarity in a grounded way, to let the anger move without repressing it, without spewing it, and in a way that I could channel it, harness it as energy, as vitality, as creative life force. I didn't think it was going to work. It was how I replaced masking my emotions with cannabis in my early 20s. And I noticed what I was doing. And I saw that it would calm me down in the moment, but that it was just a Band-Aid and that anger would boil up again later. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try just working with the breath. I'm going to try just taking really deep, full belly breaths anytime I feel that boiling up. And I honestly didn't think it was going to work. I thought it was like too simplistic. It can't be this easy. And to my surprise, it was absolutely life-changing. And it happened really quickly. And I had to continue to hone it and work with it over the years. It was not an overnight shift. But my ability to see the way that it worked happened very quickly. The hard part was actually choosing to take that path when those emotions arose. And so I started just noticing I'm feeling really angry, my blood is boiling, and I'm just going to take really deep breaths. And sometimes I needed to take space from the situation. That's one of the biggest things I've learned about myself. Sometimes it's not going to work to move through the conflict right here, right now. It needs to happen after I've had some space to go work it through my own body, to breathe, to shake it out, to move, to cry, whatever it is. And once I've moved some of that charge, I can come back and address it in a different way. And that was the second game-changing piece. If I didn't take the space, sometimes I couldn't catch it before it came out in a way that I didn't want it to. So really giving yourself space to work with your own embodiment practice and then bringing that embodiment into connection with another person can go such a long way. So for me, it was just recognizing I have this tool. I can regulate my own nervous system. The thing is, if you're breathing deeply, you cannot also be anxious or freaking out or losing your shit at the same time. You will start to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and your nervous system will start to regulate. You'll start to find your center. when we're crying, when we're hyperventilating, we see the breath is in this very different way. And it's good to cry. It's good to move it through crying. But you see, when you're breathing deeply, the same erratic freak out cannot coincide with the deep breathing. So the more that you can practice deep breathing when you're not in a highly emotionally charged space, the easier it's going to be to bring that into a high intensity sensation. It's already become more second nature to you. So again, don't just play with this when you're desperately needing it, but work with it as a way to nourish yourself, as a way to practice, as a way to maintain a clear mind and a grounded body. So, this is not something I'm perfect with, but it's a tool that has drastically improved my relationships, my well-being, my ability to move through tough stuff and to stay centered and to move through it in a healthy way. And these embodiment practices will help you have a much more nourishing, fulfilling sex life as well. If you're somebody that is always in your head, if you don't take the time to get in your body. So even if you're somebody that works out all the time, but you're constantly thinking about your to-do list or what you are trying to figure out, the problem you're trying to solve, you're not giving your body that space to really work through what it needs to work through from an embodied place. If you can work with your body in a way that takes you out of your mind and deep into the body, all of this, no matter what way you're doing that, whether it's through a sport, whether it's through dance, whether it's martial arts, breath work, embodied meditation, eye gazing, all these things are going to lay the foundation for you to bring that practice into every area of your life. So if you're never present in your body in your day-to-day, you can't expect that you'll show up that way in the bedroom or in conflict or where it really matters. We want to integrate this into our day-to-day life and let this be something that guides our way. Let it be our anchor into the present moment, because that is where we really come to enjoy life, where we don't miss out on life by always leaning into the next thing and being 10 steps ahead of each other and being 10 steps ahead of ourselves. This is where we enjoy the journey rather than over-focusing on the destination. This is where we receive the most profound riches of life by really sinking into each moment, training ourselves to be here now, to open to the fullness of each moment. So you can work with the breath as a micro practice where just 20 times throughout the day, you take deep, full belly breaths, whether it's 1 breath or 3 breaths, and you just keep recalibrating yourself back to this place of embodied presence. I want to encourage you to play with this just for today. Just start with today. Starting right now, let's take 1 more deep, full belly breath all the way down into the pelvic bowl. Slow, deep, and sensual. Really feeling what's alive in your body. All together right now. Notice what's shifted in your body. Take a few more if you'd like. Practice playing with this throughout the day and notice how it permeates the rest of what you do. How recalibrating your state of being transforms your way of doing. I'd love to hear how this impacts you. Please feel free to write to me at connect@sorayaleonara.com and let me know how this impacted you. And then perhaps try it again tomorrow. This can really be so life-changing. And if you're desiring to learn more about embodiment practices, I encourage you to take one of my courses, to look into working with me privately, and to get on my email list through the show notes. I'm going to be offering an amazing course for couples where we're going to go into this and so much more this winter. It is going to be very limited spaces, so I encourage you to get on my email list so you can be the first to know about it when it comes out. And there's a good chance I'll lead some shorter master classes where we can dive into embodiment practice together too, so you'll want to stay in the loop on those. So please do get on my email list if you want to stay connected with this. And in the meantime, play with what we talked about today. I'm really curious to see how it goes for you. I had a really delicious morning just working with embodiment practice with my partner, starting the day, getting into my body, coming into a place of connection where we can really feel each other in such a deep way, really be so nourished by that connection, and then let it supercharge the rest of our days. And I want this kind of practice for everyone. It's completely transforms the way that I live my life. And when I fall off of it, I really notice. It really makes a difference. So thank you for tuning in with me today. I hope that this was nourishing and inspiring for you. And let's end it all with another deep breath. As always, if you found this helpful, one of the biggest ways you can express your gratitude is to leave a rating or a review. Share it with someone you love. It means the world to me. Please take a moment to think of somebody who could really benefit from this episode and send it their way as a way of saying, I love you, and I'm inviting you deeper into your body. I'm inviting you to come home to yourself. All right, everyone, until next time, have a beautiful day. Ciao. Thank you so much for dropping into Nectar, Sex, and Soul with me today. It's been a pleasure to connect with you. If this episode lit you up or illuminated something impactful for you in some way, I invite you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone you feel would love to hear it. To learn more about my work, check out sorayaleonara.com, sign up for my newsletter, and follow me on Instagram and YouTube, where I share tons of free content, special offers, and ensure you're the first to know about my new offerings. I offer private coaching as well as courses, workshops, and retreats, so be sure to stay in touch if you'd like to go deeper together. Thank you, loves. Have a gorgeous day. Ciao.